All right, everyone, get ready because today we are going to be taking a deep dive into the world of experiential dining.
Ooh, sounds fancy.
It is, kind of, but really we're talking about how hotels are going above and beyond using food and beverage or F&B to really step up the whole guest experience.
So, like, not just room service.
Way more than that. Think like sensory adventures.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're using a trend report from Skift and Accor to guide us on this one.
Accor, the hospitality group.
That's the one, they really know their stuff.
I'm excited to hear this.
Me too. And right away, the report hits us with this crazy stat.
Hit me.
Global culinary tourism market, get this, expected to hit $11.5 billion by 2030.
Whoa, that's a lot of foodies.
Right, like people are planning their whole vacations around where they're going to eat.
Yeah, food is a huge part of travel now. It's not just about sightseeing anymore.
So what do you think? Are hotels ditching those boring old buffets?
Oh, for sure. Accor, they're all about authenticity, both in like their high-end restaurants, but even in those little moments like your morning cup of
But you
coffee.
think it's special.
Totally. And remember that Mercure initiative, 1,000 hours of local flavors?
Yeah, where each hotel had a dish that was like really connected to the local area.
Exactly. Such a cool way to give guests a taste of the culture.
For sure. But I do wonder, doesn't that kind of limit things? Like, what if a traveler wants something different?
That's a good point. It's a balance they got to figure out. But think about it. Isn't it more exciting to try a dish that's, unique to that place? Something you can't get anywhere else?
True. It's all about those memorable experiences.
The kind of thing you got to post on Instagram, right?
Speaking of Instagram, let's talk design. Hotels are getting seriously creative with their dining spaces these days.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about pretty plates anymore.
So it's more than just looking nice.
Oh, way more. Design is like a huge part of the whole dining experience. Accor's in-house studio, Carte Blanche, they're killing it in this area.
Carte Blanched. Break it down for us. What's
Oh.
so special about them?
They're all about creating a story with design. Like they make these immersive spaces that really match the location and the food they're serving.
Okay, getting specific, what's an example?
So there's this Turkish restaurant, Lady, at Hyde London City. They've gone all out to make you feel like you're in Istanbul.
Wow, like how?
Think walls with art from Turkish female artists, staff in traditional clothes, even the tablewares from the Grand Bazaar.
Whoa, that's impressive.
They really nailed the details.
Okay, so we've talked about unique food and amazing design, but sustainability is a big deal these days. What are hotels doing in that department?
This is where it gets interesting. Accor, they're really taking action when it comes to sustainability.
So not just talking about it.
No way. They've got this two-pronged approach, net zero emissions and creating a nature-positive future. They're even holding their suppliers to high standards with this responsible procurement charter.
So they're making sure everyone's on board.
Totally. And they're serious about tackling food waste, aiming to cut it in half by 2030.
Big goal. How are they going to do that?
They're using AI to figure out where the waste is happening, moving away from buffets to more a la carte dining, and really focusing on portion control.
Smart. Data can really pinpoint the problems.
For sure. Some hotels even found out breakfast buffets were a huge culprit for waste.
Wow, good to know. So we've covered the fancy stuff, but let's get to the heart of it, the food itself.
Okay, let's dish. What trends are we seeing on hotel menus these days?
Well, there's one that's impossible to ignore. It's the rise of plant-based dining.
Ah, yeah, you see it everywhere now.
It's gone way beyond just like having a veggie burger option.
Totally. It's like a whole culinary experience now.
Exactly. They're making veggies the star of the show.
And it makes sense, right? People are more health conscious these days.
For sure, flexitarianism's on the rise.
Definitely. And hotels are catching on to that.
They have to.
Accor's a great example. They're not just throwing a sad salad on the menu.
They're putting just as much effort into those plant-based dishes.
Totally. Making them just as desirable as any meat-centric option.
Like at the Pullman Maldives Mamuta, right?
Yeah. With their Fat Chameleon restaurant.
The first fully organic vegan and vegetarian restaurant in the Maldives. Pretty cool.
Super cool. And it's not just the food, it's the whole package.
Oh, you mean the location?
Yeah. Ocean views, sustainable practices, fresh local ingredients.
It's like they're catering to that modern traveler who wants it all.
Exactly. Healthy and delicious.
Okay, so we got to talk about drinks. Can't have food without something to sip on.
True, true.
And there's this whole sober, curious movement happening.
Yeah, less booze, more mindful
Or
choices.
at hotels, like keeping up with that.
Oh, absolutely. Mocktails are getting a serious upgrade.
Not just your average Shirley Temple anymore.
No way. We're talking artisanal, sophisticated, just as good as the cocktails.
Finally, something fun for the non-drinkers.
Right. And some places are really knocking it out of the park.
Like where?
Kalina at the Fairmont Kealani in Hawaii.
What's special about them?
Their alcohol-free cocktails are the stars of the show.
Oh, wow. So they're not just an afterthought.
Nope, they're just as beautifully made and flavorful.
I love that, giving people options.
That's what it's all about, choosing what you want.
So we've talked about sustainability, healthy choices, even mindful drinking.
It's like hotels are really in tune with what people want these days.
But what about the people behind the scenes?
Oh, the chefs and staff.
Yeah, the ones creating these awesome experiences.
Good point. It's a tough job, and Accor's doing some cool things to address that.
You mean their Herd podcast?
Yes. Hosted by Ryan King, the food journalist.
He's starting a conversation about mental health in the culinary world.
Which is so needed. It's a high-pressure industry.
And the podcast doesn't just talk about the problems, rather.
No, it highlights solutions, too.
Yeah.
Amanda Cohen's restaurant, Dirt Candy, in New York.
Oh, yeah, she did that no tipping thing, didn't she?
Yeah, got some pushback at first.
I bet tipping is so ingrained in our culture.
But she had a good reason, wanted to create a fairer system.
So how does it work? Do they just charge more for the food?
Basically, she pays her staff a living wage with benefits, which is sadly not the norm.
Wow, that's a big deal.
And to cover those costs, she builds it into the menu prices.
So it's more transparent for the diner.
Exactly, and the staff has more stability.
I like that, putting the staff's well-being first.
It's a bold move, challenging the traditional model.
Makes you think, right?
Totally, whether you're a diner or a restaurant owner.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but let's bring it back to our listeners.
Back to the real world.
Yeah, how can they apply all this knowledge to their own dining experiences?
Whether they're traveling or just checking out new spots in their own city.
Exactly. What are your thoughts? Yeah, it's inspiring to see those places taking the lead. But what about, like, the rest of us? Can we make a difference even if we don't own a restaurant?
Oh, absolutely. I think it starts with being informed, you know?
Okay, so, like, doing our research.
Yeah, learning about things like food waste and ethical sourcing, fair labor practices, all that.
So it's not just about the food itself, but also the businesses we support.
Exactly. It's about putting your money where your mouth is,
Yeah.
you know, supporting restaurants that actually align with what you believe in.
I like that. Voting with our dollars.
Right. Maybe it's a place that uses local ingredients or minimizes their waste or treats their staff well.
Small choices, big impact.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions when you're out dining.
Like what?
You know, about where the food comes from, how they make it, what they're doing to be more sustainable.
Oh, so we can actually start conversations about this stuff.
Totally. You might be surprised by what you learn.
And maybe inspire some change, too.
Exactly. It's like being a conscious consumer, you know?
Yeah, making those choices that add up over time.
Right. Maybe you start with, like, Meatless Mondays or try a new plant-based restaurant.
Or just pay more attention to where your food's coming from, support local spots.
Exactly. Every little bit counts. And spread the word.
Oh, tell our friends about the good places.
Yeah, share what you learn, encourage others to make those mindful choices.
It's like a domino effect.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to touch on that Herd podcast again.
Yeah, Accor's really tackling some tough topics there.
They are, and it's not just for people in the industry.
You think anyone who loves food would enjoy it?
Totally. It's a great way to learn more and stay informed, be part of the conversation.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into experiential dining, any final thoughts?
Well, I hope listeners realize that dining is more than just eating. It's an experience, a connection, a story.
Ooh, I like that.
And we get to be part of that story.
By making those choices we were talking about.
Exactly. Choosing experiences that reflect our values, supporting good businesses, and being a force for good change.
Powerful stuff. And maybe a little bit of adventure along the way.
Always. So go out there, explore, enjoy, and be a part of the amazing things happening in the food world.
And until next time, happy eating, everyone.